Guys, MUST here, bringing you a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are going to talk about the potential units that we could see, or at least one in particular that we could see coming for the Global Dokkan campaign, and talk about the big mistake that we do not want Dokkan to repeat, whether it's with the same character or the alternate version of the character that people would like to see. I mean, obviously you can see on the thumbnail we're going to be largely talking about the mistake that was made with the Saiyans without limits, right? These guys have become a huge meme. We don't know anything about, as of right now, who the units are going to be for the Global Dokkan campaign, outside of the fact that with the latest teaser that we got, having the Zamasu voice line at the end, it really does only make sense that like at least one of the new units is going to be a Zamasu in some way, shape or form, right? And so one of the big things that people have wanted to see ever since the introduction of the reversible exchange mechanic is, of course, a reversible exchange Goku Black and Zamasu. Now, with the reversible exchange mechanic, obviously the format that we have come to expect, or at least what we've seen so far with all reversible exchange units, is that both of the units have an active skill. Now, again, we don't know exactly how they're going to play this out, but you would assume that at least one of the active skills is going to be them fusing into Fusion Zamasu, right? Hopefully this guy gets an Easy A during the celebration, but we talked about Easy A's in the video that I put out yesterday. Do go check that out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, I think there's a couple of different possibilities, right? One of them, let's say it is a Rose and Zamasu exchange. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Rose, it could be base Goku Black, right? There's so many options. But it could be the case that one of them has an active skill to fuse into this version of Fusion Zamasu, where he's in his normal starting out like base form, and then the other one has an active skill where they fuse into Zamasu, but they become like the corrupted Fusion Zamasu. Now, of course, Dokkan has this issue where they don't give the corrupted Fusion Zamasu a different name, even though other games do. I believe even Legends has a different name for the corrupted version of Fusion Zamasu. So it is a little bit annoying that Dokkan does not have this. We have seen, of course, in the past that the anniversary celebrations or anniversary level celebrations are the times when they will make those changes, you know, like giving Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Saiyan Raw, you know, giving us of all things, right, of all the characters that could potentially have a different name, giving us the Pajama Beerus, right? So like they've shown that when they do these bigger celebrations, they will sometimes actually change things that have been in place for some time. So there is the possibility, now I wouldn't get my hopes up, I probably wouldn't even bet money on it or anything like that, but there's the possibility that we could see a corrupted Fusion Zamasu coming as part of this celebration that is actually called Corrupted Fusion Zamasu, or Fusion Zamasu brackets corrupted, or however they would do it, right? But there is a possibility that that could be something that we see. Again, it's not something I would bet on, but remember that when it comes to these big celebrations, this is probably the only time that they will actually go ahead and do something like that. So that's something we could see straight away, is the possibility of a Goku Black and Zamasu that have the two different fusion options, which I think would be very interesting. I think more so we're probably looking at, because of the way we saw the anniversary fusions, where one of them has the temporary fusion and then the other one has a different ability. I was going to say a permanent buff, but it's only the Vegeta one that has the permanent buff. Goku gets the Ghost Usher turn and then guaranteed dodge on the next turn, which are still very powerful effects and can win you events when used in the right circumstances. So I could see this being something like Zamasu being the one that has the fusion, and then Goku Black having either going Rose if he starts off as base, or even if he starts off as Rose, maybe pulling out the Scythe and some clones or something, and then that's the equivalent of the Tech Vegeta where he gets a permanent buff or something like that, right? So there's a couple of different options. The video is not meant solely to talk about that, though. The video is meant to talk about, regardless of what their active skills are going to be, regardless of which versions of the character we're going to see, we don't know who the superclass character will be opposite them. They could go ahead and just go full, like, double reversible exchange, and the other unit is Goku and Vegeta that will fuse into Vegito Blue, and it's obviously Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku plus Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta, so they'd have a different name. These guys won't Easy A, though, I don't think, because it's too early. Even with them fitting the theme of the celebration, it's far too early for them to get an Easy A. But this unit in particular, Dokkan needs to learn a serious lesson when it comes to how these active skills and transformations work, especially for a character that is considered like so hype, right? Vegito Blue, despite not really doing a crazy amount in the actual fight in the anime, Vegito Blue is a very cool, very hype character. His part of their card, this AGL Vegito Blue, it was really, really good on release. His animations are cool. He got a Dokkan original attack, like all very hype. However, the big problem, of course, is this right here, right? Potara Fusion can be activated when HP is 70% or less starting from the 5th turn, or when there's a Future Saga ally in the same turn, or Future Saga enemy from the 7th turn. So you can fuse from turn 5 if you are 70% or less HP, and then you can fuse on turn 7 if you have a Future Saga ally, regardless of your HP. Now, in a vacuum, that's not necessarily the worst thing ever. However, the thing that makes it a huge issue is that we have here, as part of their entrance animation effect, guards all attacks for 4 turns. So essentially what this means is, as we all know at this point, right, I'm not telling you guys something you don't know, but when these guys appear on turn 5, where they could hopefully fuse into Vegito if you're on 70% or less HP, their guard has run out. So if you are on full HP, or even if you're on 71% HP, you can't fuse, but you've also lost your guard. And this is an issue. I could have brought up his card, but, you know, you guys can look at it in-game if you've got him, or you can just, you know, believe me, they fixed this issue with the AGL Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, where they gave him the dodge and, like, defensive abilities for 5 turns, and then he can just transform on turn 5. Or he has a condition where he can transform early if you're on low HP. So basically what that means is you're never stuck in a situation like you are with the Blue Boys, where you get to the turn where his defensive capabilities have run out, but he can't transform. And then you get stuck in a situation where you potentially just get killed. Because there's not, and there's nothing you can do about it depending on the rotation. Like if there's attacks in every slot, and you're fighting a tough boss, and, you know, their guards run out, then, you know, you're sort of out of options at that point. So this is the big mistake that they need to make sure that they do not repeat in the future, whether it's with a new Vegito Blue, whether it's with the reversible exchange, like fusing into Zamasu, regardless of who the unit is. Like, this applies to all the units, even if they don't fuse, even if they're just a unit that has a transformation. Having this kind of active skill where the condition can be not met, like, because again, 70% or less HP, this comes back to something that you guys know I've talked about a lot in the past. I've mentioned it on multiple videos, I've mentioned it on streams. When characters have abilities, whether they're active skills that are attacks or their transformations or anything like that, but they're locked behind, you have to be on a certain amount of HP or less, like 70% or less as the example here. It's almost like you are punished for doing too well in the event. Because, like with the Blue Boys as the example, you get to turn 5 and you can't transform with them because you were doing too well in the run so far and you didn't lose enough HP. So now you can't transform, and then potentially they get you killed. And so that has led to, you know, when these guys came out, people posting clips of like getting them to transform and stuff like that by essentially having to use strategies where you put yourself in harm's way, essentially, to take extra damage that you wouldn't necessarily risk taking, to try and make sure that you're on low HP when you get to this turn 5 so you can transform. So realistically, like, they gave him the backup of being able to transform on turn 7. So if you get to turn 5, they can't transform. They'll be able to transform on their next turn, because they won't be there on turn 6. They'll come back on turn 7. Which would be fine, except for the fact that they have this massive risk of just dying on turn 5 if you don't transform with them. So this is the big lesson that Dokkan needs to learn. If you're going to give a character this combo where they have defensive capabilities for a certain number of turns, and then an active skill where they can transform. They need to make sure that those coincide, like the AGL Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, so that you don't get stuck in a situation where you can't transform and then you end up getting killed. So hopefully with the Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, they've kind of shown that maybe they realized that this was a mistake. I mean, they must know that this guy is a meme, right? Like, this unit gets referenced by other Dragon Ball games, or like even on other like anime sites, or like you see things on Twitter. Like the Saiyans with No Limits unit meme is, you know, almost one of those memes that has kind of transcended beyond just Dokkan and just the Dokkan community. So this is a unit that absolutely needs a great redemption when they do get an EZA, but I do not think their EZA will be coming anytime soon. It's something that we will have to wait a little while for. We should probably see, if anything, the worldwide units from the cooler worldwide EZAing during this celebration, although they obviously don't really fit the theme, so maybe they'll be like, you know, the bonus EZAs we get at the end of the celebration or something like that. But yeah, these guys, they need to very much not make this same mistake again, because these guys, like, on release, it's not like they were terrible. Like, in the events that came out at the time, especially with Zamasu terrorizing the meta, like, you could put these guys in slot 1. Most of the time, like, they would get the dodge if you get lucky, or at least they have the guard. And then that event was tough enough that you could lose the HP to get Vegito out. But then when it got to events where that became way more difficult to do, it just became a huge issue. And these guys have, as I say, become a massive meme, huge liability. They aged out essentially fairly quickly. And so now we're just kind of left hoping that when they eventually get their EZA, they will actually be good again and we can go from there. But hopefully they will learn their mistake and we won't get any of these crazy active skills. Like when they do these big ticket characters with the big fusions like Vegito Blue, these guys fusing into Zamasu, like the 10-year fusions are the perfect example. Like their active skills are just available like the turn you get the exchange ability, their abilities can just be used. And obviously the fact that Vegito and Gogeta are limited means that you don't necessarily want to use it straight away in events that are a little bit longer. But the option is there if you want it, and you can just use the active skill straight away. You know, unless the event is not going to last like more than 4 turns, you know that any event you take the Tech Vegito or AGL Gogeta into, you're going to be able to see Vegito and Gogeta if you want to use that part of the active skill. Whereas obviously with these guys, you could take them into an event, and even if you win and these guys manage to not get you killed, like you can win events and just not see Vegito Blue, which that's not the point of, like, you know, the hype, the fun cards. We want to be able to see these transformations and these like top quality animations. If we're running a reversible exchange Rose and Zamasu that confuse, we want to see Fusion Zamasu. And potentially whatever the other one is, if it's cool as well, like if it is Rose Scythe mode or something like that, right? So hopefully we will not see this mistake repeated again. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you think would have been a perfect way for this to be fixed if they are going... I mean, the problem is they can't fix this with their active, with their EZA, because active skill conditions can't be changed. So obviously in their passive, what they can do is give them the guard for longer, potentially give them some damage reduction, and then if you get to turn 5 and you can't transform, then they're not in a spot where they're just going to get blown up. So we'll have to see what they do when that EZA finally comes around, but that will be quite some time. So hopefully Dokkan will learn that mistake, and this Future Saga celebration, because remember that this is essentially the worldwide, but brought forward and rebranded as the Global Dokkan campaign. So this is like the second chance for them to do a Future Saga worldwide and potentially have a Vegito Blue or something like that, whether it's going to be Vegito Blue, whether it's going to be a Goku Vegeta, Trunks of Vegeta, who knows. This is their second opportunity to have a Future Saga, like, quote-unquote worldwide, and actually pull off these units without having these terrible conditions that we are not able to meet every time we use the unit. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. How would you fix this issue? Let me know all your thoughts. Who do you think the headliners are going to be? All we know is that really there should be a Zamasu involved because his voice is in the teaser. But who else do you think it will be? Let me know down below in the comments. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.